Hello and welcome to Livesplit's super lovely and awesome speed school. Do you want to start speedrunning but do not know what you need to do to start running? Then you came to the right place. In this video we will go through how to run OBS, which is going to be the recording software we will work with for both offline and online recording of runs, as it is a software that makes it extremely easy to get a proper setup. We will also go through the very basics of Livesplit, plus for the Mac and Linux users, I will take a look at LivesplitOne, which is the best solution I found for aspiring runners who are not running on Windows machines. After we have gone through the software, we will explain how to submit your runs, plus a little checklist of things to keep an eye on to make sure your runs are more easily verifiable to decrease the risk of having your runs getting rejected by moderators, because the verifiers have had a hard time to tell if your run is legitimate or not. This video does not assume any pre-existing knowledge on your end, but if you have any questions at the end of the video, as always, please feel free to ask them. With all that said, let's begin today's lesson. When you start speedrun, one of the very first steps that should be done is to get and set up all the software necessary to record and time your run. This is true whether or not you plan to run your attempts offline or through live streaming. For this, we will generally speaking need two kinds of software installed on our computers, a timer and a recorder. Of course, in some cases other stuff are gonna be necessary, or sometimes you won't need a timer because the game is timed in-game time, but this is a very general statement, and if you are going to speedrun multiple games, I would strongly always recommend to install these two things, as these are the two things you will always be needing. The timer in question is going to be Livesplit, which you can find on a link in the video description below, or if you are playing on a non-Windows based machine, the web browser version of Livesplit called LivesplitOne. These two are the go-to timers for speedrunners in general and are pretty accurate and has a lot of wonderful features that runners can use. While Livesplit and LivesplitOne has a lot of features, today we will only go through the very basics you need to know to be able to start running. If you would like me to make a more in-depth video on Livesplit in the future, please feel free to tell me so in the comment section below. I will start by going through Livesplit, as it is a software most of you are going to use. Once you start up Livesplit for the first time, what you will be met with is a very basic timer with a start and off button. The first thing I do recommend you to do at this point is to right click on the window to get access to a menu where you can find a settings feature, and pressing that one to set your hotkeys on keys that fits your purposes the best, as each game is using different keys for gameplay. The default setting using numpad should be good for most though, but this is definitely something that might be worth it for you to play around with, especially if you have a laptop or keyboard without a numpad that, while uncommon, does exist. You might also want to turn on the toggle global hotkeys feature, especially so if you're running on PC titles where you are going to have to handle the timer while it's not active window. After you configure the hotkeys, it is time to start working on your splits. Right click again and this time press edit splits, where a neat menu will come up that shows you where to write in your game, category and your splits. Press add below to add more splits until you got all the splits you need. There is a lot of nifty options in here to explore, and another option called Edit Layout that I strongly encourage you to play around with on your own, but for the purpose of starting a run, this is what you will need in terms of Livesplit. LivesplitOne works extremely similarly to Livesplit, but is a web version of the program, which means that it does work for Mac and Linux machines as well. The steps to set it up are extremely similar to the Livesplit application, however, all the menus mentioned above are located to the left, which makes them much easier to find. The problem is, however, that the web version lacks support for global hotkeys. This can pose a huge problem if you are running PC games, and is combined with the smaller suite of features the reason why I do not really recommend this version over the full download for anyone who runs on a machine that Livesplit is compatible to. But it's very much worth mentioning for Mac and Linux runners out there. Next up, we're gonna take a look at the OBS, a link to which you can find in the description below. OBS is an extremely simple recording software to set up for speedrunning once used to it. but it has a lot of extra functionality to dig into once you feel more confident and experienced with it to create an amazing stream, and it's one of the primary softwares used by streamers stream and record their live footage, thanks to its simplicity and wide variety of features. In this video we will however only cover the basics needed to start recording and streaming your speedruns. What you want to add to your stream to run are two sources, your gameplay and your live splits. There are several ways in the software to add these, but my recommendation is to, if possible, add Livesplit through a window capture, add your gameplay through either game capture if possible, or otherwise window capture, and lastly, if all else fails, a screen capture. The reason why screen capture is not really desired here is because of two reasons. The first one is that it leads to that you will have to add a crop filter to cut out the position of the screen where this gameplay is. And the second one is that it will always capture the exact position of the screen, which means that if the game moves or you close the game, the source will capture what is underneath it at the point in time instead of the game. For LivesplitOne users, the recommended solution is to capture the web browser window, but do add a crop filter around the timer, as this is probably the best solution. After this, you can put up your splits in one of two ways. The way I recommend, due to the decreased amount of work and the fact that if done well it can look extremely pretty, is that you simply put the two sources separately, preferably in an overlay, which is a picture you have underneath your stream and that can help you organize and fit in a lot of other information about the stream as well, such as the chat or other stuff, just famous heartbeat monitor for example. The other way is by having your gameplay fill up the entire stream, but having your timer as an additional layer on top of it. To do this properly though, you do want to add a chroma key filter to your timer and have it set to the color of the background to remove it. You might also want to increase the opacity level of your split to around 50% to make the timer a bit more transparent, to make it easier for a run vertifier to verify a run, as there is nothing that risks to cover up important parts of the run. This is also done on the filter menu that can be found by right-clicking on the source in question, just like the chroma key filter. To fix the opacity level, you simply add a color correction filter, where you can decrease it to around 50% or lower if you so desire, but I do really not recommend you to put it above 50%, as it's really important that a run vertifier can easily see what's going on in your run. If you aim to just run offline, you are done here and can now start recording your runs. But for people who want to live stream, there is another additional step you need to do, and that is to connect your stream to a server. This is oftentimes gonna be one of the big streamer services such as Twitch or YouTube that allows you to connect your account to it. This is done by finding your streaming key, which can be found on the respective website, on YouTube in the Getting Started section, and on Twitch under Channel in the Channel menu right at the top. Then you should go to your output and set your desired bitrate. My recommendation is to be around 3,000 to 4,000 kilobytes per second, but depending on your internet you might have to go lower or you could go higher. Personally, I am a little bit higher. I am putting it on around either 4.5k or 5k, depending on what I'm streaming. But depending on your internet, you might have to go way lower, or as I said, you could go higher. This is the rate you upload data and determines the quality of your stream on the live stream. It is also strongly recommended that you also, even if you live stream, record each and every attempt locally, in case the stream is having issues mid-run, to avoid having a good run die to the internet connection disappearing. Finally, I will go through how to submit your run to speedrun.com. It is the most popular leaderboard site for speedrunning, and the runs are verified by the community. The first recommendation here after registering your account is to read up on the rules on the category you intend to run and see if there are any tricks that are forbidden or not, and what video quality they are expecting. Some leaderboards are far stricter than others, and there are even leaderboards that doesn't even require video footage above a certain time, and expectations of the videos are highly different. There are some key things that will most of the time apply though if you are submitting a run, that can get your run rejected, that I need to go through before you press the submit button. A lot of leaderboards will require the timer to be visible on screen. While this might not sound like a necessity, it will help the verification process heavily. And some games have all splitters with load removers, which means that for those games the time is measured not by real time, but by the time the timer shows at the end of the run after all the load removals. Another really important thing is that the timer or other elements never covers up what you are doing. This is why I before talked about the importance of making the timer transparent, so not risk having it cover up potentially important parts of the run that might make your run get dismissed. In addition to this, a clean and pretty gameplay screen will help out the verification process heavily for the moderators, which is always really appreciated, especially on more busy boards. The final really important thing that might at first not be apparent is that it is very important to have the gameplay audio on there. So it's strongly advised against to remove the gameplay sound and play some other music over it. Not only does it make the verification process harder, as audio can be used to determine some things in some games, but it also makes it hard to tell if a run is heat or not. And runs without hearable audio might therefore be straight out to reject after the gate, especially if there are top runs in competitive categories. Finally, there is one myth I want to address that many runners believe that prevents them from posting runs, and that is on the topic of video quality. A lot of speedrunners want to run console games, and for that a capture card is most often desired. However, very few leaderboards will reject your run just because you are recording your TV screen with the famous potato cam. As long as everything is fully visible and audible, the quality rarely matters. There are many console runs where I have seen the world record being recorded with potato cams due to the runner not having access to capture cards. And they have been accepted without any problems at all. So just because you do not have the best recording equipment around, it doesn't mean you can't submit runs or even live stream runs to the leaderboard. I hope today's lesson was useful to you all and helped you get one step closer to speedrunning. If you have any additional questions about anything mentioned above, please feel free to ask about it in the comment section below. I am always super happy to help you out if you have any questions. If you found this video useful, please feel free to leave a little like below and press the cute little subscribe button as well for more speedrunning and gaming related content in the future. And if you have troubles picking a speed game, feel free to watch my video on how to pick a game to speedrun to the left. If you want to catch me running live, or just want to stop by and chat with me for a bit, feel free to follow my streams on twitch.tv where I stream most Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays and Sunday evenings. Until next time, plenty of hugs and stay cute and wonderful everyone. Bye bye!